Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. My name is Danny De Lillo and I am so honored to be joined by Zicheng, who made a fantastic film called A Sunburnt Summer. Hi Zicheng.
Hi, nice to meet you. How you doing?
Good. For those that haven't seen it, let's take a look at a clip of A Sunburnt Summer. Thank you so much for joining us in this virtual experience today. I loved your film so much. It was a hard watch, but it was absolutely brilliant. But for those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis.
So it's basically about the story. Well, it's more like a situation that a single mother has to face. So she's a Chinese immigrant and she's a single mother. And she discovers that her only son has been raped by the son of her boss. So she starts this journey to seek justice and encounters a lot of obstacles and dilemmas. And she gradually finds out that the situation is way out of control.
It's a brilliant story and so well written. And I felt so much for the characters involved. It was so touching and so difficult. And I could only relate, coming from a single parent mother myself and knowing how hard a mom would do to protect. But on top of that, there's all these obstacles that lie with the mom and everything else. And it's so painful and hurtful to watch because you just don't, it's so undeserving. And so my question is where did the inspiration come into making this project?
So I started writing the script, I think in the summer of 2017. And at first I just wanted to write a story about a situation that's difficult to get out of. And I feel like in the society we're often feel some part of us are violated, and be it physical or be it psychological or even in the more metaphysical realm. So, and I want to use the metaphor to basically just summarize it to the most intimate and the most harmful violation that we probably are facing at this point is the physical, the sexual violence.
Yeah.
And use that as a metaphor to like a broader other violence and abuse in other categories or other aspects of our lives. And I wanted to write a story where it's difficult to distinguish between the victim and the person who's doing the harm. And I don't want to point out what's right and wrong, and I didn't want to point out what was the best solution. I just want to like bring this situation up and to have people think about what's the problem that's causing this, and to think deeper into why are we kept silent, and why do we choose to stand up?
Yeah, I mean, there was so much in there, and I watched it a few times because there's just so much context within the lines of the script and just the action that's going on and the stakes. I mean, the stakes are so high here. And I think one thing that I really appreciated that you created in this story is I think we also have a perception of, what happens in a horrific incident like this and how it goes down. And it's not always what it seems. It's not always this kind of horrific experience. I mean, these things do happen, of course, but sometimes it can be very subtle and tame, and it's still just as bad. But it can happen in everyday circumstances with everyday people that we know. And I sort of really kind of almost appreciated that you took this kind of line, and also as well, coming from a guy and how a guy deals with this in maybe a different way. potentially, but also just the fact that there's higher stakes there because, you know, there's this horrible essence of like class on top of that, you know, where someone has an overpowering or over you for some reason, which is just horrifically wrong. And again, a very unfortunate thing is that this probably does partake in the world we live in today. And I think he gave us some new things to think about and understand in this. Did you kind of, again, you know, you could have taken this story in a whole different light, in a very almost stereotype way in which we see. Was it really intentional to sort of actually show real life situations where this could happen in a much more subtle way?
Our philosophy at the beginning of the production was to show the part, to focus on the person more and focus on the emotions rather than the plots.
Yeah.
And we try to avoid the obvious story development. So we avoid the actual rape, and we will avoid most of the confrontations.
Yeah.
Like maybe we indicated there would be a trial, but there wasn't. Maybe we indicated there might be some arguments or some more dramatic confrontations, but there wasn't. So we wanted to use sort of this silence and stillness to kind of create this atmosphere of the suffering and the burning, so-called, in the title.
I love that you did that. That was such a clever choice, because the interesting thing is that subtleness, that silence and that stillness that you mentioned, like I was still feeling all the pain and imagining psychologically all the things that they were going through. And you know, the silence and stillness is deafening because there's so much hurt and pain going on, and no one really knows how to deal with it because the circumstances are so difficult. I just want to give a great admiration and celebration of your cast, because they played the part so well. Tell me how you brought your cast together.
Yeah, casting was the most challenging part, because there was some very specific requirements, especially for the two mother roles, because we wanted them to be native Mandarin speakers, and we want them to first of all fit the character, obviously, and then be able to bring out the subtle emotions rather than trying to pretend that they have those emotions. So yeah, the two mothers was really extremely difficult to cast, and so we instead of posting casting calls online, we used our connections, my producer and also friends and family, and asked them if they know anybody who might be appropriate for this role. And so we reached out to a lot of people and asked them. And then eventually the Grace, the lead actress, was found through, I think, actor friend of my producer.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and she was in New York, and she read the story and she really liked it. So she sent us the self-tape audition, and we basically just like, yeah, that's her at first sight. So we talked with her, and she was able to manage to come to LA and before the production to do some rehearsals. And then the headmaster was actually, she was an actress. So she was a friend of like some connections through friends. And we met and we talked about this story, and she was interested in acting and wanted to try. So
she was so good.
Yeah, I know, she's so natural. Yeah, that's basically how we got the two mother roles, and then the other three were coming from casting calls that we did the normal way.
Yeah, well, I mean, so as a director, and obviously you wrote this piece as well, like how do you go about when you're dealing with such very, you know, difficult topics, and also, you know, difficult scenes as well? How do you work with your actors? Are you quite hands-on with your actors? Do you kind of let them explore and play? I mean, you know, the scenes were so good. I mean, the scene between the two mothers and the scene between mother and son, there's so many really great moments, but like, how do you work with your actors, particularly when you're you know, it's with the content as well?
Yeah, so I actually wrote the character's biography for each actor,
Mm.
and we we didn't rehearse much on the on what's in the script, but instead we rehearsed a lot of their relationships. So, for example, for the mother and the son, we didn't rehearse the scenes in the script at all. We just explored their personal relationship as a mother and a son in real life, and as a mother and son in character, and how would they react with each other's action or reaction in a situation like this. And then we kind of have them bring this sort of memory of their relationship into the scenes and on set, and to have them behave naturally during a take.
Yeah. Well, I also has an admiration for you, you know, being a short film. I was like, you had so many different scenes and setups. So I was like curious, how long did it kind of take you to do all of that? Because I was like, that's a lot of different scenes that you had, sort of interior, exterior, different locations. Like, how was that? How's the location experience for you, and how long did it take you to shoot?
The shooting was done in 5 days over 2 weekends. Yeah, and we actually removed like 2 or 3 scenes from the final film because we thought it was kind of irrelevant or redundant. So, which are the scenes are I like those things, but just like for the sake of the film, I had to remove them. And the locations were, we actually just went down to like 3 different locations: the apartment, the office, and the hospital's set.
Yeah.
So, and all the other exteriors or like very short scenes were done at the same location, just from like a different outside or inside. Yeah. So basically 3 main locations in over 5 days.
Wow. So you did this, I mean, that's quite, it's a quite an achievement to do that in a short space of time, and understand. It's very, very good. Well, one of the things that I was so curious about, because I had so many feelings after watching it, and I felt so much from it, and I just wanted just to help that poor mom. You know, well, both moms really, because they both weren't necessarily, you know, having to deal with a situation that was unexpected. But how did you kind of want your audience to sort of, what did you want your audience to kind of take from this, from your film?
So I guess just to basically at least start to think about what's causing the problem, to think about like the soil that cultivates this kind of things. Could it be problems within the society, or is it like just cultural, or is it because of individual differences, things like this? Because there were some like there were some topics that were touched on very, very subtly that I don't think anyone would notice at the first after the first view. But we kind of just, because we didn't want to overwhelm the audience with all those kind of topics, so we just want to lightly maybe just touch on them for 1 second, and then if they like the film, maybe they want to watch it a second time, maybe some will discover, maybe not, but this is there. Yeah.
It's funny you say that, because I told you I watched it a few times, because I kind of, and every time I got something else or something more, and or maybe I you know, saw something on a deeper level. So it certainly worked for me as well. I was, you know, gonna say, like, you know, I obviously a film is there to be put out there to the world. What has your experience been at festivals? And we loved having your film at NewFilmmakers LA in a virtual platform. How has that experience been for you?
So NewFilmmakers LA was actually the first screening of the film that we had.
Oh, amazing.
Yeah, and we have been into like 3 or 4 festivals so far, and there's a so yeah, I have some. I have received some reviews from. There was the screening. The first screening was in USC's graduate thesis film screening last year.
Oh, great.
So it was kind of like a semi public screening in USC, and there were a lot of audience, and it was received very positively, and people have a lot of different thoughts, and that I haven't even thought of making the film.
Oh.
Yeah, and then after this one, after this screening at NewFilmmakers LA, I have also received some comments over the internet to
good.
say that how this film has impacted them.
Well, I honestly think that your style is really amazing, and I think the way that there's so many thoughts that you can take from this film, and I hope that even anyone that's been going through has a better sort of outlook and understanding from watching your film. Maybe it opens up conversations between people that have experienced things and how to share it with their family. Now, what is next for you?
Right now, I'm just keep writing scripts because of the pandemic.
Yeah.
Obviously. So hopefully when things are getting better, I can go out and make more films. But right now I just keep writing scripts and expanding my archive.
We need more of your films, so to just keep making them. Is there anything you kind of learned from this experience making this film, or anything that you've learned up in your career thus far that you could maybe share with any filmmakers out there?
I think just trust your intuition, especially during the editing part, because that's very tricky, and get as many advice as possible, but eventually you have to make the decision to what to listen and what not to listen.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's a very important point. We don't really get that enough to sort of, you may get a lot of advice, but choose what to listen to. And definitely intuition. Oh my goodness, that is such a key thing for any artist. I love that you mentioned that, because I'm all about that. No, it's really fantastic. Well, listen, your film was very powerful. I almost feel like it felt like I was watching a feature, because it just, the context of the story was so intriguing and so wonderful. So thank you for sharing your film. Please keep making more for us, and we wish you the best successes in the writing in this crazy time. So hopefully some great things will come out of it. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
Zicheng, everybody. Thank you very much.